Asuras Shishimar, Divine Grace, Founder of ISKCON, Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki. Their most merciful Lordship, Shishara Kanya ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladeva, Subhadra ki, Shri Nataji, Spalagopal ki, Shri Gauranitai ki, Nitai Gaur. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Holy Spirit, Shri Guru, Shri Ram. 34. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nasta Praisha Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse 34. Harad Bhuvo Haram Harad Bhuvo Bharam Tam Tanum Vijha Aja Tam Tanum Vijha Vajaha Kantakaniva Kantakineva Vayam Sapititu Saranam Samam Vayam Sapititu Samam Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja Kantakam Kantakineva Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam Yaya Haradu Bharam Tam Tanum Vijahavaja Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam
Yaya Haradu Bharam
Yaya Haradu Bharam Tam Tanum Vijahavaja
Kantakam Kantakineva
Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam Yaya Haradu Bharam Tam Tanum Vijahavaja Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam Yaya Haradu Bharam Tam Tanum Vijahavaja Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam Yaya that by which Aharat took away Bhuva of the world, Varam burden, Tam that, Tanun body, Vijaha relinquished, Aja the unborn, Kantakam thorn, Kantakena by the thorn, Eva like that, Dvaya both, Cha also, Api although, Isitu controlling, Samam equal. Yaya Harad Bhuvaram Tam Tanum Vijahavaja Kantakam Kantakineva Dvayam Chapi Situ Samam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. The Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna caused the members of the Yadu Dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus He relieved the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are the same to the controller. Please repeat. The Supreme Unborn,
The Supreme Lord,
Lord Sri Krishna,
Lord Kṛṣṇa,
caused the members of the Yadu dynasty
all the members of the Dynasty
to relinquish their bodies,
relinquish their bodies,
and thus he relieved the burden of the world.
and thus he relieved the burden of the world.
This action was like picking out a thorn
This action was like picking out a thorn
with a thorn,
with a thorn.
though both are the same to the controller.
Both are the same to the
The Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus he relieved the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are the same to the controller. Purport. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that the rishis, like Sanaka and others, who were hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Sūta Gosvāmī at Namasharanya, were not happy to hear about the Yadus dying in the madness of intoxication. To give them relief from this mental agony, Sūta Gosvāmī assured them that the Lord caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, by which they had to take away the burden of the world. The Lord and his eternal associates appeared on earth to help the administrative demigods in eradicating the burden of the world. He therefore called for some of the confidential demigods to appear in the Yadu family and serve him in his great mission. After the mission was fulfilled, the demigods, by the will of the Lord, relinquished their corporeal bodies by fighting amongst themselves in the madness of intoxication. The demigods are accustomed to drinking the somaras beverage, and therefore the drinking of wine and intoxication are not unknown to them. Sometimes they were put into trouble for indulging in intoxication. Once, the sons of Kuvera fell in the wrath of Narada for being intoxicated. But afterwards they regained their original forms by the grace of the Lord Sri Krishna. We shall find this story in the 10th canto, where the Supreme Lord, both the Asuras and the demigods are equal. But the demigods are obedient to the Lord, whereas the Asuras are not. Therefore, the example of picking out a thorn by another thorn is quite fitting. One thorn which causes pinpricks on the leg of the Lord is certainly disturbing to the Lord, and the other thorn which takes out the disturbing elements certainly gives service to the Lord. So although every living being is a part and parcel of the Lord, still one who is a pinprick to the Lord is called an Asura, and one who is a voluntary servitor of the Lord is called a Devata, or demigod. In the material world, the Devatas and Asuras are always contending, and the Devatas are always saved from the hands of the Asuras by the Lord. Both of them are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of two kinds of living beings, and the Lord's mission is always to protect the Devatas and destroy the Asuras whenever there is such a need in the world, and to do good, both of them. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshushrunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Word being revealed to us is the equal vision of the Lord to all the living entities, which are ultimately coming from Him as populace of the universe, originally coming from His body. we are seeing, though, the distinction being made in those that Krishna destroys and those that he protects. And this verse is bringing out that their destruction is also for their benefit. So one may think, how in the world is that? But whatever punishment, and this is what is being missed by the corrective institution. Well, see, the penal institutions that are established in the world are not actually correctional facilities. They are meant for as punishment, which is meant for correction. Because if you suffer pain for things that you do, it is believed by the lawmakers that this will be a deterrent to your committing the same act over again. But without knowledge, the correction of pain and suffering is incomplete. And so this is what is missing. And when the law books for humanity at large become common knowledge, which will be done by Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this glorious communication that the Supreme Person of all is giving to all humanity at large to be able to understand his ways and to be able to have within itself a form of governance that will bring peace and prosperity for those that are abiding in obedience to the instructions set up by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are seeing in our own lives that obedience to this call to Dharma, as I spoke a few classes ago, includes with it a call to duty. And the inference with the word duty is that it's something we must take part in. Now I say must, if we hope to be relieved of, just like when we see in the world people that are committing crimes, that their acts are stopped, we find relief. And we feel the streets are a little safer to be able to walk on at night when criminals are put behind bars. So Krishna comes to protect his devotee in the same way. Why? So that the communication with Krishna and humanity at large can become complete. And I was realizing yesterday, as we chant, in our chanting, we're taking part in a scientific process. And so, even though we do promote ourselves as a religion, ultimately, the act of the science that Krishna is giving for all humanity is actually a science that, when engaged in, produces a result. So we could say, we create a theorem. We want to go back, we want to get out of this material world, we want to become free from the control of the material energy. We want to experience the freedom of that. So, the scientific process given to us to be able to do that is this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Now, the proof we will give to ourselves. When you're proving a hypothesis, then you have to follow the formula. And the formula says that if we, as souls, engage in this act for 16 rounds, which is about 2 hours, then we will find that we are becoming free, because this entire 2 hours, the mind is developing the mood of subservience to the supreme powers that be. So this doesn't make us weakened, but stronger. And see what the end result will be with the following of the four regulative principles. We don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. We don't indulge ourselves in intoxicating liquors that cause the body not to be able to digest foods and cause pain and suffering. We don't have illicit sexual activities that cause more pain and suffering in society. And we don't engage in gambling. And this causes us to lose wealth and prosperity. So, by engaging in this process scientifically, it is a process why I distinguish from it being a scientific process as compared to a religious process is because you will get the result irregardless of what religion you are taking part in. So this scientific process that we are given is not restricted to those devotees of Krishna, although one automatically becomes a devotee by application of the principles that Krishna gives. But by application of the principles, scientific principles that Krishna gives, you will find yourself able to more completely understand the other scriptures of the world, irregardless of what what we are saying in regards to the Vedas, that the Vedas are a truth that exceed in the quality, in the superiority of the substance that they are, in value to all other scriptures being given to mankind, because the other scriptures of the world are not revealing the Dharma for this age, because they had not yet come in contact with the incarnation of the Supreme Person who is revealing the Dharma for the age. And that Dharma can be engaged by anyone, atheist, be him an atheist, a believer in other faiths and practices and paths, a believer in yoga, believing that the physical body is the all in all to develop. Because as you take part in these activities, your experience will eventually, by the renewing of your consciousness, because that consciousness that comes directly from the soul is able to manifest when it becomes free from the karmic control. And anyone who knows a means of getting free then should give that means to all those who are in bondage. And we have been given that freedom and have found that freedom ourselves by the chanting of these holy names. So it doesn't mean you have to give up your job, doesn't mean you have to give up your religion, your faith, your belief in God, to the extent that you have to this point made progress. But God is giving a means to make more easy those paths. Just like the leader of one such path has said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. When we take upon ourselves as a responsibility, as a duty to perform activities that God Himself has given the instructions to do, then we gain with the following of those instructions the energy behind the Supreme Person's purpose Himself. So we have to realize that we are, by surrendering to the greatest power there is, in fact, we are being elevated to an engagement in a work that is by calling of God. God being the highest person there is, then. We have to look at what he is calling us, asking us to do. And if we take it in our minds and out of a duty to do it, then there won't be a question in our mind. Should I do this today or not? Should I be free from the bonds and control of karma today, or should I surrender to karma and become a prisoner again? That's basically the choice we're making when we choose to serve the senses of the physical body. And when you analyze, what's everybody going to work for? They're working to have eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's what we're doing. Yes?
4 items.
And yes, entertainment is there, but we are also, every human being on the planet must engage in those activities. Now, if there's a way to engage in those activities without getting some reaction from it, because as we know, in order to perform the simple act of eating, something has to die. Something's going to die so that we can live. And say, no, we eat only vegetables. All right. What happens to give that we're calling a vegetable the ability to replicate itself? That is the energy of the soul. And where does that energy come from? The ability to replicate itself. Did the soul give itself that ability? Did you give yourself the ability to reproduce? No. It came from our origin, from the source of life itself. And it originally came as a sound vibration. Every soul that there is in this particular universe here came into existence from out of the body of the original person and placed into the body of the first person in the universe. And we were in that body from that first name of God being given to the first person in the universe, who had been brought to a stage of elevation by performing tapasya, which was the first word he heard, tapa. And so he engaged, being elevated, having been born in a Vaishnava family 100 times minimum. Lord Brahma, being put in the position he is in a universe, has already taken birth in the philosophy being given by the Supreme Person, the original person. 100 times he has been trained in that process, just as we are, for many of us, believing this to be the first time for us. But we were told by the spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who established this movement, that when coming to the movement, people who are already married, to gain access to these Vedas means they have been married many lifetimes together before. So this even introduction to the Vedas itself is an attainment of a level of perfection of humanity. But what we do with them will determine whether we pass the test or not. So we are being given as human beings the opportunity Sometimes they will call certain opportunities the opportunity of a lifetime. So that's what this ability to understand that the Supreme Person of all, the one and only Supreme Most Person, is that a plan for each and every single one of us who have come in contact with these most ancient teachings that have come directly out of his own mouth, Krishna's own mouth, establishing at the foundation of the universe the difference between spiritual energy and material energy, and indwelling the body as well of the original person. In the same manner, indwelling every single form of life that would come out of that original body thereafter. And in that way, life is able to reproduce itself. But when one form of life takes upon itself the means to be able to stop the progress of another form of life for its continued progress. Right? Call it cheating, right? Normally. But that's what we're doing when we eat. All of these forms of life manifest for a purpose. So yeah, vegetables and those things that are manifesting, fruits, nuts, these forms of life that are manifesting for the furtherance of humanity, in order for the benefit of all involved in the process of producing the life itself, the planting the seed, the watering the seed, the harvesting, nourishing the seed as it grows, and then the harvesting of the seed. But if we take, not knowing it is not ours to take, as human beings, we take it for granted that if I put this seed in the ground, whatever the seed produces is mine now. That's the mentality, isn't it? You grow a garden, whatever, it's your garden.
My tree, my
it's all right. But this individual that is manifesting in this form as food has also gotten to a stage of development from desire. And now that it is fulfilling its desire to be able to nourish others with its own body, it's giving of its entire life for the sake of another human being, it is gaining credit in that that human being will also have to return that it is now owed as a life. So we are at every meal, we are creating the circumstances that will force us to repay every single soul that we have taken advantage of to end the progress of, to use for the furtherance of our continuance here on this planet. Unless we follow the science being given by the one who has put every seed into the body of the original person in the universe. Because it is his laws that we are following. When you follow the instructions of God, automatically you're following all of the instructions he has given for us to follow. So in the following of God's instruction then, by recognizing that this breath of life that we have within these bodies is due to the fact that we have been brought into a place where we can manifest due to that the Supreme Original Person has made possible. And as he has done for every form of life that there is, to manifest for every purpose that it has. And if it tries to work against its purpose, which human beings are of the few species that have the ability to do that, we reach a stage in a level of advancement in what we call human, to where we have now exercise of free will that can even violate the laws of nature. And therein lies the problem of us having to take birth again and again and again and again. See, in one lifetime, we accumulate the reaction for taking birth, if not thousands, then millions of lifetimes to come. Which is why Krishna gives us the means to be able to become free from that. Because this desire that we develop continuously in our day is furthermore reason. If we are desiring material enjoyments, it's further reason that we have to come back into a similar set of circumstances for us to be rewarded in that way with those things. Whereas, if we are developing the desire to please the senses of the Supreme Person who is not under the control of material desires, who is not under the control of karma itself, then by the act of following the instructions of someone who is free from karma, giving us the means to know how to completely free ourselves from karma and to remain free, then we experience what life is, what consciousness can be free from karma. And that's what is meant for the human being in its normal capacity, with just normal life. One should be able to know love of God, pure love of God. And this will come as this knowledge is introduced at the earliest stages of life, so that automatically children know right from wrong. All of them sharing the same values, the same moral principles, following the same scientific process, then they become strong, one people. And intercommunication with other planetary systems becomes possible. If we can, as members of the Earth planet, as one people, if we can create great things and perform great acts in this world as one united people, imagine what one united universal people can be doing. Krishna was visiting other planets. This was a common place for him. And we have record of it to know that those who wrote these things were witness of these things. They were seeing that themselves. And so that's what can be restored when we have developed the consciousness that Krishna is saying is divine consciousness. It is by consciousness that we are experiencing life. And Krishna is giving us the ability to experience that to the utmost degree possible, with the most elevated experiences of consciousness available to any living form of life. Krishna is making us aware of the availability of that kind of consciousness. We can have the kind of consciousness towards every living entity that we see, that immediately they recognize, wow, this is a different kind of person. You go somewhere and just by the words that you speak, they say, wow, people don't normally greet one another so wonderfully, with so much respect, is that? But that's how devotees are. Offering respectful obeisances to one another. In this society, it is a foreign act. You become a foreigner. Somebody sees you bowing down to another human being, they think of you as from a foreign country. And actually, this is not our home. No matter what country we show allegiance to, we can only be that for the time we spend on this planet. And we are not permanent residents of this planet. Our real home is where God is calling us back to come to where He is. And where that constant experience of joyful bliss is happening and going on all the time by the participants who are eternally youthful. Can you imagine that? The older we grow, the more difficult it is to think that growing old can make us become even more happy. As we grow old, we find these bodies deteriorating and going through all kinds of changes that we're not expecting to happen. But with knowledge can come the realization of how to change those pains as well. See, by living the life that God is calling us to live, and by the ability that He gives us, but not only that He gives us, but that He is in us. When we see the accomplishments of all these great ascended yogis, and personal associates of Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa is revealing to us, He's not a respecter of persons. He sees your surrender just as sweet and divine to Him as Arjuna's surrender was. In this day and age, because of the age we're born into, Kṛṣṇa is accrediting with us with more than what we're actually worthy of being accredited with. He accredits one day of fasting to that which enables a person to gain the credit of giving more wealth than the whole world contains. You read in the pastimes of the Goddessy book. And so how much Kṛṣṇa is accrediting His devotees because of His own love, because of His own nature of being love, that He accredits His own devotees as being great masters, when He in fact is the source of all, the origin of all life, the origin of all knowledge, the completeness and the perfection of everything we look for is there to be found in Kṛṣṇa. And we can realize that every moment when we're chanting Kṛṣṇa's names. We can be taking to heart the reality that the supreme-most person of all has called us into this communion and relationship, this conversation with Him, that we can let Him know constantly how much we appreciate that path He has set forth for us to be able to engage in. A lot of times, devotees find themselves incapable of making it to the temple on time to perform their service. And so I'm asked to engage in the service. And then they feel obliged. Oh, Prabhu, I'm so sorry you had to cover for me. See, we don't understand what it is, what the privilege is, were being given in these eternal acts. These acts that we're engaging in, that we're being given the privilege of being engaged in here, that we are describing as devotional service to Krishna, are being equated to the same kind of activities that Krishna is engaging the gopis in, who he describes as being the most elevated souls there are, that are the dearest to him. And he credits these very seemingly menial tasks with such appreciation, that these tasks that they contribute as an offering to him become the means for him to become close to them, such that he puts trust in them, faith in them. Learning how to shoot a bow. Who looks at this activity of shooting a bow as some great perfection to take part in? But Krishna endowing that science with the potency that he endowed it with caused it to become involved in energies that are even now not fully understood. And now they are just tapping into various powers and potencies of the material energy that Krishna revealed the strengths of thousands, which we have account of on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But millions of years ago, if we go back to what Krishna is saying the first time when he revealed this science to Vivishwan, the sun god, the ruler of the sun. It's like the ruler of the universe. Brahma takes that position of ruler of the universe. But the sun god is certainly very powerful. And if I'm not mistaken, that position is even above Indra, who is ruling over one group of planets. And that position is being described as highly powerful position, ruling over all the demigods. And the planets that they are on cannot be ruled without access to them. So this was common knowledge during this time Krishna was on the planet. This interaction with other living entities from other planetary systems. They were giving birth through human beings' bodies. And I was realizing today, it is said that one of the original emperors of the world named Ikshvaku, he was born from a sneeze. What would you do? You sneezed and then actually a living entity. He is born with sneeze, yeah. So he came out of the mouth of his father. And I do not know this process.
Brahma, it comes from Brahma.
Ikshvaku.
It starts coming.
I just read in 9th canto, he came from a sneeze of his father. I don't know if it was Lord Brahma.
You want me to get the book?
Vivishwan, let's see. He gave this imperishable science to Vivishwan. Vivishwan gave it to his son, Ikshvaku. No, Manu. And Manu gave it to his son, Ikshvaku. So he's the son of Manu.
Manu is the son of Brahma.
And Manu is the son of Brahma. But Vivishwan is the son of Manu, right? And Vivishwan is Vivishwan is son of Brahma. And then Manu is the son of Vivishwan. I have to look that up. That one I'm not certain of. But Ikshvaku is the son of Manu. And if you read which is available today, the Manu Samhita. I don't know how authorized version we have of it, but it's not something that can be very much, how could you say,
Manu takes his doctor.
contaminated.
Very contemporary.
Yeah.
And that's how the progeny starts.
Yes. Well, the instructions that Manu gives is for the governance of humankind. And the instructions he gives is very practical, indeed, especially for today, to help us realize why people are so frustrated, feeling that their government is not giving them representation. And it is because those who are governing are trying to represent more people than one human being has the ability to represent. And the form of government we have fashioned has come about by teachings that are not absolute truth. So foundation based on anything but absolute truth eventually will fail. But as we see from the intents and the hearts of the founders, whose limited knowledge of God nevertheless gave them the ability to create a functioning form of government that was superior, as it appears from the desire so many people around the world have to be governed by the form of government that they're practicing now in the United States. But we can see as well much discontent, which is brought about by people's frustration with their inabilities to get what they want. When people don't get what they want, they think the government's out of whack, right? That's basically consensus amongst people. When we have problems, it's the government's fault. But see, this is only part of the problem, because the reason we are having the form of government we are having is also due to our own desires. And if our desires are not pure, we're not going to have the consciousness.
He was not instructed to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed to Ishvara.
Yeah. And Manu gave birth. Yeah. That's his son. If I'm not mistaken, Ikshvaku is his son.
Raghu dynasty comes from there.
Yeah, the Yadu Dynasty.
Raghu.
Yeah. And see here again is evidence.
King Asuras and all those people come.
Yeah. Krishna is speaking out of his very own family line here. Re-establishing the fact that he was the founder from the beginning, and giving us, in our understanding of the parampara, re-establishing the connection with mankind to all the rest of the universe, you could say. He came to heal the earth of the miscreants. So in the planetary systems, we don't have stories of Krishna having to kill the miscreants in the heavenly planets. But we do here. But now that they have been killed, and now the time is coming that Krishna consciousness will be established in the minds of all the inhabitants of the earth eventually. But this can only come about by Krishna's teachings being taken seriously by the inhabitants of the earth, and to give their children the same benefits that they will themselves find by the study of these laws of God. See, most people who are born into the society now think of law as something for only a few individuals to have the need to study, because that's only to to fulfill the profession of a lawyer or a judge or a magistrate or someone of that nature. But coming with the law is also the established within the hearts and minds of everyone who knows the laws of God, the principles needed to perform every other function that the world is set in order by following the guidance that the law has set forth. So as we apply the knowledge we have about the various laws, jobs we take part in, we can also know by knowing the laws that govern society, we'll best know how to apply our products to the society and how best society can be benefited by what products. All these laws that are incorporated into the activities that are taking part on this planet, that have taken part on this planet by Kṛṣṇa, all these stories automatically incorporate into the soul that associates with Kṛṣṇa in this way, because we are, as we read pastimes of God, we are developing in our mind thoughts about God, which is our relationship. And so it's the same as God himself being right there next to you while he's performing these activities that you're reading about, and you forming in your mind these conceptions about how you feel about him. And every time you read through the story, that feeling, that appreciation you get because you see from a more mature perspective yourself the effects of what Kṛṣṇa is saying, the perfection in the way Kṛṣṇa is able to speak, even though he's being reviled, spoken of in very egregious ways, without respect at all. And yet he deals with each and every one of them as though they were pouring nectar out of their mouth, so to speak. Kṛṣṇa has such a temperate, can we say, characteristic about his personality. Nothing bothers him. But if you try to touch one of his devotees, if you try to do harm to a little one, you better watch out, because Kṛṣṇa is watching you. Every day, everywhere we go, no matter where you are, there's a record being kept of what you're doing. You can turn the lights off, the recording is there. Don't need a camera, the record is there. And God's laws, they don't take vacations. So no matter when you want to try and do harm to another living entity, whenever you want to take some act into your own hands that is against the teachings of the Supreme Person, you will suffer a reaction for that. Guaranteed. And if you think, Lord Chaitanya says, if you think to do good, he will give you benefit for that. How merciful is that? If you think to do evil, but you don't actually act upon it. See, and this is the art, this is the science. Controlling the mind. The control of which is gained by while one is engaged in producing that transcendental sound vibration that is itself the same substance the soul is made of, which makes this chanting, in effect, a feeding of the soul. So this, that Kṛṣṇa is as the substance Kṛṣṇa is in the form of his name. It's not different from that substance we take into the physical body in the form of prasad. It's also spiritual food. So we should realize we're starving for want of love of God. And the only reason we're starving, if we have knowledge of the means of being able to experience that, and we're not doing that, that's why we're starving. So now we can go about our day, and no matter what we have to do, you can still chant in your mind. You can still create that spiritual experience of consciousness that gives relief from all the functions of karma, from all the laws of karma. And in fact, knowing God's laws gives us the means to be able to become free from the effects of the reactions those laws create by those who break those laws. So, it is knowing those laws that give us also freedom. So we shouldn't be looking at laws and the knowing of the laws of God as anything other than another form of freedom that God is giving to us to experience. See the depths of love of God. He wants more benefit for us than we want for ourselves. We're looking to satisfy the senses of these bodies, and He's looking to give us the eternalness and the knowledge to know the substance that we are. And that's why He gives us these holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we return home, we can run into the arms of Krishna. We'll run into the arms of Krishna. Krishna embraces those, even coming to the temple for the first time, in the form of Lord Chaitanya. He embraces those who He hears the names of Krishna coming from. This reveals to us how dear devotees are to Lord Chaitanya. We're so fortunate. We have such glorious lives to look forward to the fulfillment of because of Krishna, because of Lord Chaitanya's kindness to come. Even though we've come at this most fallen time, He's come to lift us up and give us freedom. Freedom we're longing for in all of our endeavor. Any comments, any questions, any realization?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupāda.